Hello, I welcome you all to the Medical Fever. I am Dr. Rajaswamy. In today's lecture, we will discuss how various lung pathology give rise to secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. Secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. Spontaneous because it is not caused by underlying trauma. Secondary because it is secondary to lung pathology. What lung pathology causes secondary pneumothorax? Almost every lung disease can cause secondary spontaneous pneumothorax, but 70% of the incidence of secondary spontaneous pneumothorax are caused by the COPD. We will discuss the all cause in detail. Let's discuss some important point about secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. The first point is here pneumothorax is developing over the underlying lung pathology. Hence, the symptoms which develop are out of proportion of the size of the pneumothorax. More symptoms will be developed in the secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. Secondary spontaneous pneumothorax may present with atypical symptom. Chest pain is typically absent, and these patients are present with increased shortness of breath. Dyspnea may be due to underlying lung disease or may be due to pneumothorax. Thus, we can't identify this patient solely on the basis of the clinical feature. That's why radiology become integral part to diagnosis of the secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. In contrast to the primary spontaneous pneumothorax, where there is no underlying lung disease. Although there can be blebs and bulla and ELC, but they are more nuisance than any specific lung disease. Now the question comes how the air enter into the pleural cavity. If the lung pathology lie here and destroy the lung parenchyma, it can directly communicate with the pleura, air enter into the pleura and develop the pneumothorax. Lung pathology can develop anywhere in the lung parenchyma. Suppose the lung pathology lie toward the center of the lung here. It will destroy the lung tissue and communicate with the interstitium. Air leak into the interstitium, and from the interstitium it can enter into the mediastinum causing pneumomediastinum. From the mediastinum, air can enter into the pleura causing pneumothorax. Air can track towards the subcutaneous tissue of the neck and the chest causing surgical emphysema. From the mediastinum, air can also track downward causing the pneumoperitoneum. If the lung pathology destroys some of the airway of the lung and communicate this airway to the pleural cavity, the direct communication between the pleura and the airway established, and we know this condition as the bronchopleural fistula, which is the life-threatening situation. Now we will discuss what are these lung pathology which can cause the secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. As I told, almost every lung pathology can cause secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. The most common is COPD. We will discuss the lung pathology under two headings. First, obstructive lung disease, and second, cystic or destructive lung disease. In the obstructive lung disease, most common is COPD, asthma, bronchiectasis. COPD is the combination of the emphysema and chronic bronchitis. In the obstructive lung diseases, there is airway obstruction and increased resistance. And this increased resistance is more pronounced during the expiration than the inspiration. Even in the healthy person, airway are narrow during the expiration than the inspiration, but this don't cause any trouble. During the inspiration, due to the negative intrathoracic pressure, the distending pressure is applied on the whole lung, equally on the alveoli and the airway, which cause the opening of the airway, air rush in and ventilation happen. So during the inspiration, distending pressure applied on all the airway, this is the airway, and on the alveoli equally. Airway open, air rush in and the ventilation happen. During the expiration, due to the elastic property of the lung tissue, as I told you, lung has tendency to recoil in, alveoli recoil in, there is no more distending pressure on the airway, hence the airway become narrow during the expiration. This all happen in the normal person all the time, but this does not cause any symptom. In the obstructive lung disease, mainly in the COPD, we will see what changes happen. In the emphysema, as we previously discussed in the ELC, there is increased proteases, collagenase and elastase, mainly in smoker or genetic predisposition like alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. This collagenase and elastinase destroy the lung parenchyma. Airway alveoli. Due to increased elastase and collagenase, alveolar septa are destroyed and alveoli become like this. Decrease the surface area available for the gas exchange and decrease elastance and increase compliance. Compliance is ease with which we can stretch the tissue. Suppose this is some tissue or material. This tissue require more force to stretch, while this tissue require less force to stretch to the similar extent. So the compliance of the tissue B is more than the tissue A. The example is chewing gum. You can stretch it to the any extent, and the elastance is the force against which we have to stretch the tissue, or elastance is the property or the substance to resist its deformation. Elastance brings the substance to its normal position. So in the emphysema, the collagenase and the elastase destroy the lung tissue, hence the lung elastance decrease and the compliance increase and the size of the lung increase, because due to decreased elastance, lung tendency to recoil in decrease. Similarly, elastic tissue surrounding the airway also destroyed by the elastase and collagenase. Hence, during the expiration, now radial traction which keep the airway patent is decreased and airway become more narrower. This classically happen in the emphysema. The another component of the COPD is the chronic bronchitis. The another component of the COPD is the chronic bronchitis. In the chronic bronchitis, there is inflammation of the airway, due to which airway are swollen, increased secretion due to the secretory gland like goblet cell. That's why in the patient of the COPD, airway become more narrower due to the chronic bronchitis and the emphysema. Radial traction lost in emphysema and the chronic bronchitis, airway are swollen and increased secretion in the airway. And this airway obstruction is more pronounced during the expiration than the inspiration. So the scenario formed here is enlarged alveoli with the narrow airway. During the inspiration, air easily comes in but does not go out easily and trapped in the lungs, resulting in increased pressure and increased lung size. Also, this patient breathe at the higher lung volume. They have difficulty in the breathing. Do not assume since this patient have the more air in the lung, so they must not have any difficulty in the breathing. It is not like that. Normally we breathe at the FRC. On the FRC, tidal volume come in, tidal volume go out, tidal volume come in, tidal volume go out. But in the patient of the COPD, the lung volume increase more than the FRC. Now they breathe on the higher lung volume. At the higher volume, they breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And to inspire, they have to generate more intrathoracic pressure. So in the COPD, due to the increased air trapping and increased airway pressure, this alveoli can rupture directly into the pleural cavity, since alveoli have the delicate wall, and develop the pneumothorax. Alternatively, this alveoli can also rupture into the interstitium. From the interstitium, air can track into the mediastinum, causing pneumomediastinum, causing surgical emphysema, may cause the pneumoperitoneum. As I stated, COPD constitute the 70% cases of the secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. Underlying pathology is emphysema and chronic bronchitis. Bronchitis, obviously we know, patient producing cough plus minus sputum for 3 consecutive months for 2 consecutive years, not explained by any other etiology. Now we will see how bronchiectasis causes the airway obstruction and the pneumothorax. Bronchiectasis is the pathological irreversible dilatation of the airway. In the bronchiectasis, there is increased destruction of the airway wall and surrounding structure. Due to this airway lining become weak, and due to the pressure of the air, there is outpouching in the airway lining. And this outpouching or the dilatation become the irreversible. Secretion can dissipate here and give rise to the infection and the inflammation. Inflammation not only develop in this outpouching but also in between this outpouching. So bronchiectasis is chronic inflammatory condition causing airway narrowing. As the pressure upstream, so air does not easily go out and trap in the alveoli. Pressure build up and this alveoli can rupture either into the pleural cavity directly causing pneumothorax and can rupture into the interstitium. From the interstitium does not easily go out and trap in the alveoli. Pressure build up and this alveoli can rupture either into the pleural cavity directly causing pneumothorax and can rupture into the interstitium. From the interstitium, air can track to the mediastinum, pleural cavity, peritoneum or the subacute tissue. In the asthma, there is reversible airway obstruction and asthma is a episodic condition as you all know. In the severe case of the airway obstruction or the bronchospasm during the episode of the asthma, there is increased pressure in the alveoli and in the very severe cases alveoli rupture. Very distinct type of pneumothorax develop in the asthma which also fall under the distinct clinical entity which is termed as pulmonary barotrauma. There is a general rule that if young patient with history of asthma present to you with severe chest pain, dyspnea and surgical emphysema following episode of forceful cough or intense physical activity, this raises strong suspicion of the pneumomediastinum unless rule out. So this is how obstructive group of disorder causing the pneumothorax. The second category of lung pathology which can give rise to secondary spontaneous pneumothorax is cystic or cavitatory or destructive lung disease. This pathology cause destruction of lung parenchyma resulting in formation of cavity. Suppose lung pathology like pulmonary abscess affect this area of lung. If this lung abscess rupture into pleural cavity, this result in formation of the pneumothorax. If some other lung pathology like tuberculosis or pulmonary abscess or lung abscess present here, it can rupture into interstitium. From the interstitium, air can track into mediastinum where it produces pneumomediastinum. From the mediastinum, it can go to subacute tissue resulting in formation of subacute emphysema. It can track downwards toward abdomen and cause pneumoperitoneum. It can rupture the pleura resulting in formation of pneumothorax. The common lung pathology which can cause destructive lung lesion are tuberculosis. TB is associated with pneumothorax and 100 years ago it was thought that pneumothorax only associated with tuberculosis. TB cause caseous necrosis resulting in destruction of lung parenchyma and may this give rise to development of the pneumothorax. Second common cause is HIV. HIV don't directly cause pneumothorax but the condition associated with HIV like tuberculosis, Mycobacterium avium complex, Kaposi sarcoma and the most important PCP. Infection with this organism cause development of the pneumothorax. Special mention to PCP, Pneumocystis carni, previously known as PCJ, initially thought to be bacteria but now it is clear that it is a fungus. Infection with the PCP associated with 70% of mortality. PCP cause destruction to lung parenchyma, angioinvasion resulting in pulmonary infarction, damage to pleura resulting in development of pneumothorax. PCP have propensity to develop pneumothorax in the upper lobe and the peripheral zone, but this tendency to development of the pneumothorax in particular zone not associated with PCP directly. In fact, it is associated with the therapy we use in the patient of Pneumocystis carni pneumonia, that is pentamidine nebulization. When we give pentamidine nebulization, the aerosol deposit in the central part of the lung, but very less or no amount reach in peripheral zone and upper part of the lung. So the PCP fungus cause increased destruction of lung parenchyma here and there is increased tendency to develop pneumothorax in the apical portion or peripheral zone of the lung. In the clinical practice, whenever you come across the patient of HIV, always assess immune status of the patient and the CD4 count of HIV patient. Since in most instances, the risk with particular organism increase when patient CD4 count fall below a certain value. For example, if patient CD4 count less than 200, the patient is prone to develop PCP pneumonia, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and Cryptococcus neoformis. When patient CD4 count fall below 50, in addition to this organism, patient become prone to get infected by CMV, Mycobacterium avium complex, and Aspergillus fungus. So, in the HIV patient with compromised immune status, always suspect infection with this organism, depending on the patient clinical history and symptom. Any aggressive pneumonia, the suppurative pneumonia, for example, caused by the Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter, can cause the pneumothorax. Similarly, lung abscess destruct the lung structure and cause the pneumothorax. Now, what is the difference between the pneumonia and the lung abscess? Sound similar, but there is difference. In the pneumonia, there is infiltration of the inflammatory cells plus bacteria, proteinaceous material causing displacement of the air, but the underlying lung structure is maintained. They are not destroyed. As we give the antibiotic, the inflammation resolve. We see the underlying lung structure are intact. While in the abscess, the underlying lung structure are destroyed. Any lung pathology can convert into the lung abscess. Now we will see the next cause, pulmonary infarction. Pulmonary infarction can also cause the pneumothorax when it undergoes the necrosis and destruction. Pulmonary infarction can develop by the fungal infection causing the vessel invasion and the obstruction, pulmonary embolism, and other pathologies. Next cause is lung cancer, mainly squamous cell carcinoma. Squamous cell carcinoma has a tendency to grow big. It undergoes the necrosis and causing destruction and development of the pneumothorax. The next cause is cystic fibrosis, which is most common in Caucasian, the white people. Cystic fibrosis occurred due to the mutation in the CFTR gene, which is encoded by the chromosome 7, and it encodes for the chloride channel or the CFTR protein. This is the cell structure and the nucleus. This is chromosome 7. This is CFTR gene transcribed to the mRNA. This mRNA translates into the CFTR protein, and this CFTR protein move to the cell membrane. To understand how the chloride channel or the CFTR protein work, we will take the portion of the cell membrane. This is the CFTR protein. This is transmembrane domain of the CFTR protein. This is nucleotide domain, where the phosphorylation occur. CFTR full form is cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator. This is the regulator portion of the CFTR channel. This is the opening of the channel. Chloride are thrown out through this channel. If it is orient like this, it will absorb the chloride. This orientation is found in sweat gland, and in the rest of the body, this orientation is seen. Hence, in the sweat gland, chloride is absorbed, while in rest of the body, in the pancreas, airway, the orientation is like this. Chloride channel are excreted, while in the pancreas, bicarbonate ion are thrown out. This CFTR protein also inhibit the sodium channel and prevent the sodium entry. Let's see the functioning of the CFTR protein. This is cell membrane. This is CFTR protein. This is transmembrane domain of CFTR protein. When the agonist of the CFTR protein attached to the CFTR receptor, it activates the GS protein, G stimulatory protein, which in turn activate the adenyl cyclase enzyme, which convert the ATP into AMP, cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP activate the protein kinase A, which phosphorylate the nucleotide zone. This nucleotide zone in turn activate the regulator portion of the protein. Now this regulator portion of the protein open the chloride channel and chloride thrown out of the cell. In the case of the pancreas, bicarbonate thrown out. As we discussed, this CFTR protein also inhibit the sodium channel and prevent the entry of the sodium into the cell, due to which sodium ion concentrated here. And the water molecule which intended to follow the sodium also accumulate here with the sodium. We will see the clinical implication of this, how this CFTR protein functional normally in the healthy person, in the airway of the healthy person. This CFTR channel are present in the mucosal lining of the airway. I am taking the larger airway for example. The CFTR protein are present in epithelial cell of the airway and throw the chloride out. Also, they inhibit the entry of the sodium from the sodium channel, and sodium accumulated here. Along with the sodium, water is also accumulated here. What the advantage of this? In the airway, there is also mucus secreting gland which secrete the mucus. This mucus act as a trap the microorganism, dirt, irritant. Now this sodium, water and the chloride make this mucus thin, and this thin mucus thrown out the airway with the help of the ciliary action. This cilia beat the mucus out toward the nares, toward oral cavity and nasal cavity. As this mucus cross the larynx, it engulfs into the GIT. In the GIT, these microorganisms are digested in the acidic environment of the stomach. Every day, almost 1 cup of the mucus is engulfed into the GIT without any awareness. Now, this is what happens in the healthy lung. In the patient of the cystic fibrosis, there is CFTR mutation, due to which there is decreased functioning or absent functioning of the CFTR protein in the airway of this cystic fibrosis patient. Now the mutant CFTR protein will not be able to throw out the chloride channel. Similarly, will not be able to prevent the sodium from entry into the cell. Now sodium will enter into the cell and water will follow. Mucus gland will secrete mucus as usual, but due to the absence of the sodium, chloride and water, this mucus will remain thick and the cilia stuck into the mucus, unable to throw it out. This mucus act as trapper, as we discussed, for the microorganism, dirt, irritants. With time, amount of mucus increase. Along with it, the trapped organism and dirt also increase. This mucus may dissipate and obstruct the smaller airway, causing airway obstruction. With time, the whole blanket of the mucus laid over the airway, and this condition is known as the mucoviscidosis. This mucus also irritates the airway. Due to the irritation of the larger airway, patient developed recurrent cough. Microorganisms which are trapped here increase their number, cause inflammation. In some cases, the inflammation is severe and necrotizing. So, along with inflammation and the toxin produced by bacteria, the underlying structure are damaged. The damage produced by the ongoing inflammation and the toxin produced by bacteria, the classical picture of the chronic bronchitis and bronchiectasis develop. As the time progressed, this patient developed pneumonia and in severe cases lung abscess. All these conditions we have discussed previously cause pneumothorax. Similar mucociliary mechanism exists in the sinus, and in case of CFTR mutation, due to the recurrent infection in the upper respiratory tract, nasal polyp develop. So this is how the cystic fibrosis produce pneumothorax. I will discuss in detail about cystic fibrosis in another lecture. Let's see some other causes of the pneumothorax. One of the rare cause of pneumothorax is LLMM, that is lymphangioliomyomatosis. This condition is common in women, causing bilateral pneumothorax, the cause of which is multiple cysts in the both of the lung, which rupture time to time and giving rise to bilateral and recurrent pneumothorax. Due to the recurrent nature of the pneumothorax and the cost associated with it due to the hospital admission and the management cost, this patient should be managed initially with the pleurodesis. In the pleurodesis, we inject some agent like doxycycline or the pleurodetic salt in the pleural cavity, which cause adhesion of the parietal and visceral pleura. The another rare cause of pneumothorax is histiocytosis X. Again, this patient have multiple cysts and blebs which gave rise to the pneumothorax. The other rare and the interesting cause of the pneumothorax is catamenial pneumothorax. That is pneumothorax associated with the menstruation. But how this happen? This case associated with the thoracic and pelvic endometriosis. The endometrial tissue implant in the thoracic, abdominal or pelvic cavity and giving rise to the hole in the pleura or the diaphragm through which air enter into the pleural cavity. This condition occur mostly during the menstruation and most common on the right side because it's reach the right side through the peritoneal circulation. I am ending my discussion on the secondary spontaneous pneumothorax. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the traumatic pneumothorax and the clinical feature and management. To get the all updates, subscribe the channel. Thank you.